It would make just massive difference. Number one, we need strong tort reform. We need it, especially, we need it. Illinois has taken steps, we need to take more. That's one of the problems with Illinois, and this actually is very much a state issue. We need tort reform because there are places in this state where you can't find an anesthesiologist or an obstetrician because their liability insurance rates are so great that they've fled the areas. We can't have that. We need a huge amount of tort reform in this country. Obviously, that's nothing in anything that's been going on in Washington. And also, just another simple thing, is we need more freedom in regard to being able to have competition for buying interstate health insurance. The way the system is now, we don't have as much choice in health insurance options as we should. And I'm not talking about a government option. I'm talking about private options. But the fact is that different states, and I do believe in state sovereignty, but different states have different rules about buying health insurance, and consequently, you can't buy a cheaper policy that's 2 states over. If we could do that, if we could have freedom to buy health insurance and shop more effectively, the prices would go down. And because our main problem with healthcare right now is the price of healthcare, largely because of malpractice, and the price of health insurance, largely because of a lack of competition. Fix those 2 things and you'll help the healthcare situation.
So in the state of Illinois, could we pass some legislation in Illinois that would allow Illinoisans to go to Iowa, Wisconsin?
No, because not that, again, that would have to be on the federal level because it's interstate.
Okay. Let's go back to climate change really quick then. I wanted to get your opinion on, there was an article in August 2009 by Dr. Lenzins and Choi from MIT. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not, but it basically showed that the amount of heat that was being created in the atmosphere was actually being let out into space. In other words, the entire models from the UN revolve around the fact that greenhouse gases will keep heat in.
Right.
And that's why we'll have global warming. And every model has basically, in essence, been proven wrong in that the heat is escaping into space at the same rate it's being created. So I wanted to get your input on that, and also on the East Anglica Climate Research Unit that had the issues with the emails that basically gave a little bit concern that some of the stuff is not being under the scrutiny of real science.
You just said it, Steve. The fact of the matter is that we have, in these most recent, and there have been other studies, not just the MIT people, there have been studies right along that have called into question the dominant scientific paradigm, so-called, that humans are causing climate change, that we're causing global warming, and the fact has been that we've seen this for a long time, this academic McCarthyism, if you will, where honest scientists who are doing good work and ask questions even are shouted down and called deniers. That's not how science is supposed to work at all. And science, when has science ever been about a consensus anyway? You know, they always talk about the consensus of scientists and climatologists is that this is happening. Well, that's not how you do science. You find the answer and you move forward. And what we, you know, and there's been this sense with the MIT people and some of the other scientists who have been trying to do good research, that it just seems like, gosh, it looks like somebody's, you know, trying to keep a lid on this. And then when the whole East Anglia thing broke open, it was obvious that this leading climate research center was it was basically a fraud. And when you think about the incredible depth of public policy, the ways in which that Congress in particular is trying to invade our lives, and with the cap and trade tax situation, some of this whole thing of trying to redistribute the wealth of nations that are industrial and successful to non-industrial nations to try to level this, because in the name of this thing that we've now found out is basically built on what's scientific fraud, for lack of a better term. It really is it's a terrifying thing to think that science is in such a sad state, in such disarray. Now here's something else that's sad. I've been doing informal polling with some people I know. My wife and I both teach for Black Hawk College down in Moline. And I also teach for Ashford University in Clinton and Scott Community College in Iowa. And just off the top, I've thrown it out to not trying, and not even telling them the whole story. I've just thrown it out to classes and say, have anybody heard about this Climate Research Center at the University of East Anglia? And they haven't. They haven't heard of it. They haven't heard of it. I talked with my mother-in-law over on Christmas Eve, a wonderful woman, love her dearly, and her sources of news are CNN and Newsweek. I asked her if she had heard of it. Hadn't heard of it. And so what's one of the things that's deeply terrifying about this whole situation is that we actually have huge numbers of people who don't even know that this information is out there. And it's absolutely incontrovertible. It's obvious. The people at East Anglia were covering up the fact that it's not what they said it was.
Right.
And that's actually, frankly, it's grossly terrifying. It makes you wonder about the future of humankind.
Well, I think it goes back to Illinois' and energy dependence, because we are very rich in coal again. One of the reasons, and I think that, again, education is the key here, the reason that coal is a pollutant is not because of carbon dioxide, which I'll have to ask that question. Do you believe carbon dioxide is a pollutant or not?
No.
Okay. Sulfur dioxide
Right.
is what is produced from the coal, which causes the acid rain and causes other detrimental effects, but then we have smokestack scrubbers to keep the sulfur from going out. So when they say burning clean coal, that's what they're talking about. The reason that people that believe in climate change don't believe there's anything such thing as clean coal is because carbon dioxide still is let go.
Right.
I guess the question is, if you don't believe carbon dioxide is a pollutant and we can scrub the stacks to keep sulfur dioxide from getting into the atmosphere, wouldn't you think coal would be a good energy source since Illinois is rich in coal?
As long as we mine it responsibly, and the times have changed from back in the old strip mining days, which was an irresponsible method of mining. But no, we've moved forward, and that's a great example of being responsible with the environment, as opposed to being this fear-mongering and driving everything with apparently junk science toward restructuring all of human life around these theories that are unproven. And so, yeah, I think as long as we have, you're right, as long as we scrub out the sulfur dioxide, and as long as we mine responsibly and safely, then yeah, and great for Illinois.
I guess the thought I keep thinking of is jobs, and the idea of turning on Illinois to become an energy sustainable. We could have wind farms in the north, we could have nuclear, we could have coal, we could even drill for oil in the state now that I've heard that we've got some reserves. There's biodiesel, there's ethanol, there's just so much energy opportunity in this state. It would be interesting to see how much of the private sector could develop that if given, I guess, the opportunity.
Right, but that's another problem that we face in this current climate under the present administration in Washington. And I think things will improve much after 2010. But the fact of the matter is that those companies that would like to do the very things you've just mentioned, Steve, would you invest in a coal mine right now?
No.
Yeah, exactly. What we need to do is change the climate and make it more favorable to rational, sane, prudent policy. And then, as I say, that's the beauty, that's really the beauty of free enterprise and capitalism, is that as long as you just turn it loose, it works.
Well, that's going to throw me into another line of questioning, because it's interesting. You asked the question to me if I would invest, and I don't know if I'd invest in any new entrepreneurial idea unless I knew I had government contacts, because the situation is that the government creates an uneven playing field a lot of times, and so we have this multi-billion-dollar lobbyist industry, not only in Washington, but in Springfield as well. And I guess the question is what do you feel about lobbyist groups? Do you think that they have a place? Do you think they should not be around? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, not only do we teach, but I'm also a farmer. We live on the farm that was homesteaded by our family in the 1840s, and I went out and did my cattle chores before I came here this morning. And I'm a member of Farm Bureau, and proud to be a member of Farm Bureau. And Farm Bureau does lobbying. I don't have time to be in Springfield all the time. although I'm going to have to be making time if elected, but in my current schedule, with my current work, I don't have time to be in Springfield speaking on behalf of myself and other farmers. I'm glad I'm part of an organization that represents my interests